Now this is when you have objects that share the same horizon line, but have multiple vanishing points. Okay, so you can see that this box, one side of its orthogonals goes to this vanishing point, and the other goes to here. Okay? This object, one side goes to out here, one side goes to out here. So what you'll notice two things. It seems like all of these objects are sitting on the same ground plane, like they're sitting in the same space, and that's because they share the same horizon line. But it looks like they're in a little bit of disarray, like they're not aligned with each other. Okay? And that's because their vanishing points are different. So the one thing I do want you to notice, like if this is something that you do in your drawing, is the closer your vanishing points are to each other, the more distorted the thing looks. Right? So this box in particular kind of looks like a little bit jacked up relative to these other ones, which seem a little more naturalistic, and that's because its vanishing points are so close together. Right? All the other ones, their vanishing points are further apart. So most of the time when you're drawing in perspective, like when we're drawing from observation, your vanishing points are way off your paper. So this assignment today is it's going to help you internalize what it means to have a vanishing point, even though most of the time you're not going to be using a ruler or anything to find it. Okay? So multiple vanishing point, same horizon line. We get this feeling of disarray, but that things are living in the same space. So multiple vanishing points and multiple horizon lines. And what that means is, for example, here's a horizon line. The leading edges of any object on that horizon line are perpendicular to that horizon line, and then the vanishing points exist on that. Okay? And then I go to draw this object, and its vanishing points are out here and down here, and its horizon line is here. See how nice and complicated that gets? But when you do this, it's like if a spaceship exploded and all those parts are like twisting and turning in space. So multiple vanishing points on multiple horizon lines. Each object's leading edges are perpendicular to its own horizon line, and they go to their own vanishing points. And it's a feeling of like floating or falling or pushing out, exploding, right? It's got that kind of astronauts floating in space feel. So real quick, so I'm going to pretend like I have a structure here already. Now let's say there is something, like this is a weird world where I also have a structure that I live in that goes up here, but that it floats in space, right? Well, this object is going to have its own vanishing point. Why is it on its own horizon? Because its leading edges are perpendicular to this line and not our shared horizon line down here. So let's say in my world 2, we have floating houses, right? So anything I do to this house, its modifications are going to match with these vanishing points. Okay? But let's say I have another thing here where we change the vanishing points on the same horizon as our first structure. Okay? This one is just slightly rotated relative to that. If we want to exaggerate that and really make it seem like something is sitting sideways, then we need to more radically move our vanishing points. So now this box, right, because we shifted that in so far, this box seems like it's tilted out to the side to meet us more than this box is. Right? So you can futz around with the positioning of things inside of your drawing to create kind of like impossible lands, or maybe your cowboy town isn't quite as organized as the townsfolk would like it to be. Maybe their building codes were not up to snuff, and some buildings just don't sit right with others. Okay? If you do something like this, just remember that if I make modifications to this structure, I use its vanishing points. And if I make modifications to this structure, I use its vanishing points in horizon line. Right? So you're just tracking more vanishing points. But it's the same thing.